Let's take a look now at some of the new rendering technologies incorporated in Lumion 6. We've got PureGlass, OmniShadow, Speedray Reflections, and an all-new Hyperlight version 2. So really 3 brand new technologies and 1 improvement on an existing technology. And from my perspective, Lumion 6 is just really all in all a quality update. There's not a ton of new tools that we really need, but what we always want is better and faster rendering. And that's what we've accomplished. So the end product looks better. Just the little subtleties that go into a rendering are all looking much better in Lumion 6 and really dialing up the quality of our final product. So let's take a look at this interior scene. This is kind of a cool project we completed for CBV Homes this past summer and really got a chance to model this inside and out with SketchUp. So we're going to talk about let's just look at this kitchen, and we're going to dial up some of the textures. So really, with any rendering, it's attention to detail. It's really getting in there and like modeling something the way it actually is. Every little reveal and nook and cranny, it all makes a difference. Because when you look at an image, it's the little details that set apart from being like, this is just a computer-generated graphic, or this is a really nice, warm rendering, good representation of the design to be presented. So along the lines of attention to detail, we need to keep in mind for rendering all of our textures and materials. That's going to be the first one we'll look at. So let's check out PureGlass. So PureGlass, something like this glass right here. This is just, it's a standard glass material that's come in from SketchUp. So let's go to our materials and hover on here. This is our glass, our redid glass is what we're calling it in SketchUp, but it's hasn't really been dialed up as a Lumion texture yet. So if I were just to call this glass, Lumion glass has always been pretty decent. So it'll switch over and just kind of be like this standard, you can kind of see through it. It'll get some reflections. That looks good. But we've got this new thing called PureGlass. So let's go back to our material library and click on PureGlass. That's the glass icon with the plus sign. When I do that, so it looks very similar from the beginning, but we have a lot more features and options now with PureGlass. So let's go with our frostiness. See how you can get that like blurred effect with the frostiness? That's really cool stuff. And then we also have this ability to add this relief. And it kind of just like distorts the glass, like really bends the light beyond, which I think is pretty impressive. I mean, that effect, it's not everywhere that you're going to need it, but like on an old window, that would be a really cool effect to apply, or maybe on a shower or something like that. If you dial that relief up a bit and then change the scale of it, you can kind of get like that dimple glass look. So let's go with something like this, maybe a little less relief. So that's pretty cool. I like that. So you can play with those to get these different effects with that glass. So just a subtle little thing that's really going to dial your images up. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here. Let's just make this our standard issue glass. And so we've got those glasses happening. And all right, so let's see. Where else can we use PureGlass? So when I look over here, we've got these pendant lights. So I'll click on those, and right now, looking through here, it doesn't really have, I'm not able to see through it. Now, in Photoshop, I could go and I could give this a opacity, save it as a PNG, and then, bring it back in and all that. But really what I'm going for is I just want a more realistic look to this fixture. So when I click on here, right now, this is a standard material. So that just means that it came from SketchUp. I just made it a standard material so that I could assign some different properties to it. So, you can give it like a bit of a gloss and reflectivity and do different things to it. But really what I want to do to this is make it a PureGlass material. Now, I could go with the kind of advanced glass, or if I go over to indoor and then glass, I've got all of these new PureGlass materials. And as I hover around, you've got like decorative glasses, you've got transparent plastics, pretty cool stuff. So there's quite a few new textures you can use, like rough glass, kind of frosted glass here. So lots of different options. We'll just go with this guy. That looks cool. We'll start there. All right, so then if I double click on this, it takes me to this material editing, and I can go with maybe dial up, maybe I dial up the relief a bit, kind of make it kind of distorted. Maybe I go with our frostiness, a little bit more on that. So that's looking pretty cool. I like the way that kind of bends all that light. So now, really what you're seeing is like kind of seeing through there, and you're getting a much more realistic effect. And those are just truly the little things when you're moving in an animation or looking at a still, your brain picks up on it. You look at it and you think, I should be able to kind of see something through there, but I don't. And now it just has that extra little touch of realism and kind of adds quite a bit to the renderings, I think. So that looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll mess with my opacity here. I like it being pretty clear. I think the frostiness is where it's at. Kind of dial that up. All right. So then, as far as some other materials, let's just mess with our flooring a little bit. I'm going to dial up our reflectivity for some of our other demonstrations here. This guy, some of the new, just the new rendering technology in general. Really dialed up. So let's go with like a fabric here. So indoor fabric. I'm just going to choose a carpet. And then I'm going to, not that one. Let's see. Carpet. Yeah, just really I'm just looking for the texture. I'll double click on it, and then we're going to dial up our colorization and kind of bring it back to where it was here. I think it was somewhere like around, get this back. Yeah, like that. I think that was close to where we were. That looks good. And maybe just darken it up just a touch, and then bring the scale of that down. So really, that way it doesn't look so much like carpet. It looks more like just a fabric. So that would be carpet. Scaled that down. Give it plenty of relief. And I think that'll look okay. This guy I think is already set up. That's a white leather, so that's going to look good. And let's see, this one can be plastic, so we'll go to indoor, plastics, and here we have, what do we have? Linoleum, lots of linoleum. These are just kind of standard issue plastics, so I'll just grab a purple plastic. And then let's edit that. So I double click on that swatch. I'm going to colorize it, and it's already set up to be white. So now it's just kind of white plastic. So anytime that you can use a Lumion material, it seems to be ideal. It really kind of helps out just making things look right or look better. You can always dial it up with a standard, but if you can just start with a Lumion material, it seems to work well too. All right, so then also on our PureGlass, check this out. This right now, this scene was all built in Lumion 5 and just directly imported, opened in Lumion 6. So like right now, this is just your standard issue glass. So if I kind of zoom around here, let's look at it from this side. I think it'll be a little bit better. So that's the way that a bottle of wine would look in Lumion 5. That is it. Now in Lumion 6, we can go over here. We can say, I want this to be our PureGlass. Like that. I want our colorization to be more like a dark green, like that. And then maybe I want some of these other properties like I don't know, maybe just a little frostiness. Let's see what the relief does for that. Oh, relief is actually kind of cool. Maybe that, I'm not sure if that does something or not. I'm not sure that it's accurate or not, but it looks cool. So I like what that's doing. So you can see how much better that glass texture is. It's just so much more realistic there. Maybe the glossiness needs to dial down a bit. Perfect. And the frostiness, not so much. Perfect. All right, then this guy here, maybe we'll go with just a PureGlass as well. And then I was kind of goofing around with this earlier, like that wine. I think I want the wine to be glass as well. So we'll make that into, I will just do advanced glass. And then I'm going to make it into kind of a colorized dark red. Let's kind of zoom down so we can really see what's happening. So that's already looking better. And then let's go to our properties and our opacity, like that. And so that's really not going to have any frostiness or anything. Alright, so now looks good. So you can see that just, those little subtle differences in the quality of the glass, I think that's a huge deal. Alright, so we've kind of looked at our PureGlass here, here, and here. Let's just keep on going through this image and really dial it up. This material, I'm going to go back to our PureGlass again, and we'll go with our RGB and maybe just kind of make it like a frosted gray, and maybe mess with our frostiness, and our that one probably wouldn't have any of that relief on it, so pretty cool. Reflectivity, I think we can dial down. Maybe that wouldn't be so reflective. And glossiness, yeah, that looks good. Okay, now really, as mentioned, all these materials are kind of dialed up. So if we choose like another metal from Lumion, it just kind of makes it look a little bit better. So indoor and metal, and let's go with I found a nice, like a brush type metal. Zinc, let's see. Let me just click through a few of these. So not that one, that's more of like a galvanized look. There's one that's kind of a brushed metal. That's decent. That's closer to what I want. There we go. So that looks pretty good. I think that's kind of the look I'm going for, is more like a stainless type look. And let's look at our dishwasher here. And so like we'll go to edit this. I double click on it. And then let me go to more and go to position. So let's add that position. Let's see. Advanced. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted orientation. That's what I was looking for. I think I want it kind of going up. So our heading, not our heading, our pitch. And keep in mind with any of these, you can always double click and then enter precise input. Okay, so now reflectivity, we should dial that down a bit, like that. And then gloss, I think gloss is probably really the appropriate property we're looking for. And alright, so all that looks pretty good. So now we've got our metals on here. This one too. That's a chrome, so that's already set up. So that's looking pretty good. Alright, so we've got really everything kind of textured up, or at least textured as far as we really need to right now. Let me do one more indoor, metal, and we'll go with our chrome. So, looks good. Okay, so now we've talked about PureGlass, kind of beat on PureGlass a bit. We talked a bit about how textures in general are better. Let's just hit this check mark to save those, and then we're going to head into our photo mode. Now, on photo mode, we're going to start talking about some of these other new technologies. Now, this entire scene was built in Lumion 5, and directly opened in Lumion 6, and so you're seeing it. We just messed with our materials to kind of get that up to speed, and now a lot of our effects, some of these new technologies are just automatically incorporated in the effects that we've already applied. So as I navigate through here, the next effect or technology that we're going to talk about is OmniShadow. Now OmniShadow it just kind of gives that nice gradient shading that happens in all of the corners. So if I were to dial our OmniShadows way down, you can kind of see that it looks a little flat. And if I dial them way up, you can see that you start to really get those subtle variations, like just that kind of darkness and that gradient that happens in the corners where light gets, I don't know, trapped or bounced or whatever happens that does that. It really just makes it have that nice depth and 3D effect. So OmniShadow is a nice new technology that's really very quickly, it's like real time, works in real time and really dials us up. So then we're going to go with Super. as far as our shadow quality goes. So that's good. So OmniShadow, that's a new technology, really kind of looks sharp. Keep in mind that that is under the shadow effect. So you do actually have to go into your effects panel, and here you can see a shadow, and add that effect. All right, so now the next technology we should talk about would be, let's kick through, we talked about our shadows, and now we'll talk about are Speedray Reflections. So Speedray Reflections, my understanding of these, it's not so much that they affect your standard reflection planes. Before I get started, keep in mind that reflections are an effect. You click on New Effect under World and Reflection. You can see this one's already in use, but this is where you would click to add the effect Reflections. Now, once you've added that effect, you're going to have to go in and add reflection planes. So we've added, our reflection effect is in there, and then you would click on the pencil, and this is where you can start to add reflection planes. So you'd click here and, add a reflection plane. Click here. We'll add one there. And you got to use these a little sparingly. I mean, really, what's nice about Lumion 6 and this new Speedray Reflections technology is that in the past, in order to get really nice reflections, you had to have a reflection plane. So that's what we're doing here, is saying I want perfect reflections on these surfaces, and that's why we've added a reflection plane. But on something like the wine bottle, it was rather difficult, or impossible more so, to get really nice reflections. And so that's where Speedray comes in. So when I zoom in here, you can see these, this is the way it's rendering now for our reflections. And if I turn on our Speedray Reflections, let's just watch what happens. Let me turn off. Oh, I need to preview on high. Okay, there we go. So off, we get that. And on, we get just cleaned up reflections. So what I was getting into there is that my understanding of Speedray Reflections is that this isn't so much going to improve the old reflections with the reflection planes. That's really not where you're going to see the improvement in quality. You're going to see an improvement in quality on all those materials that were using the reflection ball, that little disco ball that you drop into a room. And you're just going to get better, more accurate reflections. So I think it's going to be more another one of those subtle quality improvements where the fact that those reflections are now higher quality and real is really just going to make that image just look better. And it's going to be, you just one of those subtle things where you just say, I'm not sure. It's just, it looks better. It feels better. It's more realistic, just better quality in general. So those are Speedray Reflections. And really it's just as simple as adding the reflections and turning on Speedray Reflections. So we'll definitely keep our preview at high. Why not? And all right, so that looks pretty good. So now the last technology to talk about is Hyperlight 2. So right now it is on, and if you're familiar with Hyperlight 1, my understanding of Hyperlight is that it's kind of this hybrid solution of rendering with your GPU and then also kind of leveraging your CPU to do some of that radiosity ray tracing tasks and kind of overlaying it. So I've got Hyperlight on, and the intensity is by default set to 50. So we'll just kind of leave it alone right there, and you could do your own testing. I find that 50 seems to be pretty good, and maybe even dial it up just a little bit more, but we'll leave it at 50 for now. If I double click on there, let's see. Okay, so this one, yeah, I can double click on it, hit backspace twice, and then type 50, and then hit enter, and we get exactly 50 on that value. All right, so let's render this thing out. We'll go at 3840 by 2160 and see how it looks. So save photo set is off. We're going to render this at 3840 and take a glimpse at our Lumion 6 render. All right, so let's render this one over Lumion 6. Click on Save, and we will overwrite that file and let this thing take off. All right, so yeah, right away I'm seeing I definitely like the way all that looks. You know, it's like noticing the PureGlass and here, just with the wine bottle. It just looks much more realistic. Speedray Reflections, I think we're going to start to benefit from that over here, like on this metal material. Definitely on the wine and on this metal material. Probably a lot more places than we even realize. So that's why I think it's good to really use Lumion materials, or at least even if you're not using the Lumion material, just turn it into a standard material and give it just some sort of properties. Just say this is reflective or it's not. Just give it a little bit, and that's enough to really dial it up and get a nice realistic rendering. You've got your Omni Shadows happening. You know, you can see those kind of starting in and fading, and then as it goes through and cranks, I think we're also seeing some of that some of the Hyperlight too kicking into. So anyway, in general, Lumion 6, it's just this quality upgrade. I mean, you know, we've got a handful of new features and tools, but from my perspective, I just don't think we need a ton of new tools. It's really, we want faster, higher quality, better rendering, and that's really what we've accomplished here. So we'll give that a few more minutes, or a few more seconds more so, to wrap up that rendering, and then we'll take a look at the final product and wrap it up. Okay, so that took about a minute or two to get us to our final image. So let me get to my temp folder, and here's our Lumion 6 rendering. So we'll look at that at full size, and then we can really get in there and see, again, there's our wine bottle. Here's the nice kind of bent light and refraction, reflections, frostiness, all those cool things happening with the glass. More PureGlass presets there. Yeah, looking pretty good. So let's see. Yeah, so the new technology is really a cool improvement in Lumion 6. And get in there, give it a shot, and check out the other tutorials. We'll see you in there.